Have you ever wondered why, after a certain age, our relationships and surroundings can feel like a heavy burden? As we grow older, it's not just about how we live, but who we live it with. In this video, we'll uncover the powerful truth about the people you need to avoid in your life after 60. These people, whether they're complainers, energy vampires, or controllers, can silently drain your happiness and peace, and worse, prevent you from living the life you deserve. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by those around you, unsure of how to set boundaries, or struggled with relationships that feel like they're holding you back, then you need to watch this video until the end. I'll share the key signs of toxic relationships that seniors should avoid, and how these people can negatively impact your health, happiness, and personal growth. This isn't just about protecting your time. It's about reclaiming your freedom and joy in your golden years. So, stick around because by the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of how to take control of your life and protect your peace. You'll also discover how to embrace a fulfilling, independent lifestyle where you make the rules. It's time to free yourself from the chains of negativity and start living life on your terms. Don't miss out on this life-changing advice. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. Now, let's delve into one of the most insidious and harmful types of people that seniors can encounter in their lives: the constant complainer. Do you recognize anyone like this in your life? These individuals are like walking storms, perpetually finding fault with everything around them. The weather is never right, the pension is always too small, the children never listen, and the world is simply wrong in their eyes. From the very moment you wake up in the morning, they are there, ready to unload their negativity on you, to drown you in their endless litany of complaints. They are masters at draining the life out of a room, and they can have a profoundly toxic impact on anyone who shares their space. Living with a complainer is like living in a constant state of emotional warfare. Complaining is a poison that seeps into your mind, taking root and slowly corrupting your outlook. Over time, you begin to see the world not as it truly is, but through the distorted lens they've crafted. Everything feels bleak, everyone seems to be to blame for the world's problems, and life itself starts to feel like an endless cycle of disappointment. But let's be honest, this is not reality. There are so many opportunities awaiting us, even after the age of 60. So many doors still open, so many adventures to embrace, and so many relationships to cherish. The key to preserving your peace of mind, your joy, and your soul's serenity is to distance yourself from those who only see the world in gray. Think about it. How often do you hear complaints from those around you? And more importantly, how do you feel after being around them? Is your energy drained? Does your sense of hope diminish just a little bit more? The effect of constant negativity is insidious. It's like the slow drip of water, eroding the foundation of your well-being. Perhaps, it's time not only to declutter your physical space but also to cleanse your circle of communication. Surround yourself with those who uplift you, who encourage you to see the beauty in life, and who leave you feeling more alive, not less. But wait, the dangers don't stop there. Now, let's talk about another category of individuals with whom the elderly must not coexist: the energy vampires. Who are they, you ask? Well, don't worry, they're not the mythical creatures who drink your blood, though sometimes, it honestly feels like they do. These people silently siphon your energy, your vitality, and even your happiness. And the worst part is, they do it so sneakily, so craftily, that you don't even realize it until it's too late. Picture this: your neighbor, always with a smile on their face, bringing over pies, asking you how you're doing, and seemingly offering a moment of kindness. But before you know it, the floodgates open. They start telling you about all the things that are going wrong in their life, about their endless struggles, their dissatisfaction with everything, and their inability to find peace. It's all negative, draining, and emotionally exhausting. You didn't argue with them, you didn't say anything harsh, but somehow, after just an hour of this draining conversation, You feel completely and utterly depleted. It's as though they've taken something from you, but you didn't even see it happening. I remember a situation like this all too well. A dear friend of mine, let's call her Maria, lived with her daughter. Now, Maria's daughter was a good girl, well-meaning and loving, but whenever she faced any issue in her life, she would immediately run to her mother for solace. And at first, it wasn't a big deal. She'd tell Maria about her struggles with her boyfriend, or how difficult her boss was at work. Maria would listen, offering support and love, doing her best to help. But after a couple of years of this, Maria found herself losing track of where her life began and where her daughter's problems ended. Her entire existence seemed consumed with solving her daughter's issues, to the point where Maria no longer knew where her own needs started. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. So, what's the lesson here? Don't allow yourself to become a caretaker of someone else's constant emotional burdens. You have a life to live. You have your dreams, your health to protect, and your peace to nurture. After 60, every additional worry can weigh heavily on your body and mind, and the last thing you need is to carry the emotional baggage of others. Don't be afraid to say, "I need some time for myself," or, "You'll need to figure this out on your own." There's no shame in setting boundaries. It's a necessary act of self-preservation. At the end of the day, your well-being should always come first. It's time to stop living in the shadow of others' misery and to reclaim your space, your happiness, and your peace of mind. Surround yourself with people who bring joy, who give back the energy you pour into them, and who inspire you to live a fuller, more vibrant life. Let go of those who drain you, and make room for those who lift you. Buddhists teach us that every person carries their karma, their own set of consequences shaped by their actions, choices, and intentions. It is an unspoken truth that if you persistently insert yourself into the lives of others, constantly trying to fix their mistakes or intervene in their journey, you may inadvertently rob them of their growth. You prevent them from experiencing the consequences that are essential for their evolution. Worse yet, by meddling in their affairs, you take on their burdens, their pain, and their negativity, dragging them into your own life. And for what? Life is far too precious to bear the weight of someone else's struggles, especially when it's not your battle to fight. Life is short, fleeting even, and you deserve to live it freely, not weighed down by the burdens of others. So, I ask you, do you have individuals in your life who, knowingly or unknowingly, drain your energy, your joy, your very essence? People who take and take without even asking, leaving you feeling hollow and depleted? If you can relate, perhaps it's time to step back, to distance yourself, even if only for a while. Remember, at the end of the day, we are each the sole architect of our happiness. And I'm grateful you're still with me. Your presence tells me that these words are resonating with you. You feel them as I do, and we are on this journey together. We've discussed complainers, the energy vampires who feed off others without remorse. But there's another group of people that, especially as we grow older, we should learn to keep at arm's length: the controllers. Oh, I'm sure you know the type. They are the ones who believe it's their responsibility to dictate how you should live, what choices you should make, and how you should spend your precious time. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're in your 60s, wiser for all the years lived, stronger for the challenges you've overcome. You've worked tirelessly throughout your life, raised your children, weathered the highs and lows of existence, and finally, you've reached a place where you understand exactly what you want from life. But then, out of nowhere, someone, whether it's a well-meaning relative or an old acquaintance, starts to impose their will upon you. You shouldn't go out so often. You're getting older now. Why bother with a new hobby? What's the point? And dating? What are you thinking? You're past that stage. Can you feel the weight of these words? They aim to diminish your spirit, control your choices, to box you into a narrow vision of what your life should be, according to their outdated standards. Let me tell you this, and I want you to hear me clearly. These people are the ones who need to be avoided. If they cannot accept that your life is your life to live, with your own desires, your own dreams, and your freedom, then their influence has no place in your world. You've earned the right to live on your terms. As we age, we come to understand this truth more deeply, and we must honor it. We are all responsible for our paths, our happiness, and the choices we make. No one, not even those closest to us, has the right to dictate how we should live, especially once we reach an age where we've earned the right to follow our hearts. Buddhism, with its wisdom, teaches us to free ourselves from the attachment to others' expectations. Let go of attachment to approval, it says, and you will find true freedom. This is the essence of self-liberation. Yet, the interesting thing is that it's not always others consciously trying to control us. More often, it's driven by their deep-seated fears. Fears of growing old, of losing their sense of purpose, of facing the unknown that awaits them in the later stages of life. I remember a woman I knew, whose son tried to control every aspect of her life, despite her adulthood. She longed to travel, to explore the world with her friends, to experience new adventures. But he, overcome by fear for her safety, would say, "Mom, it's not safe. You might fall, get sick, and what will I do then?" His fears kept her from stepping out, from embracing the joy of new experiences, and in doing so, he stole not only her freedom but also her ability to live fully. How many of us have allowed fear, our own or someone else's, to rob us of opportunities, to prevent us from truly living? Don't let this happen to you. You deserve to live with boldness, to follow your heart's desires without shame or restraint. The time is now, and the choice is yours. My beloved ones, take a moment and deeply reflect. Your life is your masterpiece, your creation. It is a profound work of art that no one has the right to edit, censor, or manipulate. You alone hold the paintbrush, deciding where to go, who to share your journey with, and what your path will look like. No one, absolutely no one, should have the power to steal that from you. Think carefully. Are there people in your life who try to control, limit, or dictate your choices? What are they costing you? The chances you've missed? The opportunities lost? Perhaps it's time to draw a line in the sand, to firmly yet respectfully reclaim your autonomy. Stand tall and assert your right to live your life on your terms, without their interference, their expectations, or their restrictions. Now, let's talk about a delicate but vital truth. Grown children. They are both a blessing and, at times, a source of profound struggle. Many of you might be nodding, especially if you're over 60, because chances are, at least one of your adult children feels like they can't cut the proverbial umbilical cord. And let's be real, while you love them deeply, living with adult children past a certain age isn't just difficult, it can be soul-crushing. Have you ever found yourself wondering why, despite raising them to be independent, they still come back, clinging to you as though they haven't learned to stand on their own 2 feet? You spent years teaching them, nurturing them, guiding them through every challenge, hoping they would become capable, self-sufficient adults. But somehow, somewhere along the way, something went wrong. They return home, or worse, never leave, and it begins, "Mom, make me something to eat. Dad, I need help with money. Please, I can't manage without you. Why would you leave me?" These adult children can, unintentionally, become an anchor around your neck, pulling you down, holding you in place, preventing you from moving forward, from evolving, and from embracing the joys of life. And here's the truly heartbreaking part. They do this while cloaking their dependence in the guise of love. They insist that you must help them, but your parents, how can you say no to your child? They say, and suddenly, a piece of you begins to break. How can you say no? After all, this is your child, even if they are 40 years old. But the truth, no one will tell you this, but I will, is that by constantly sacrificing yourself for these adult children, you are not only robbing them of their chance to become independent, but you are also depriving yourself of the right to live your own life and to experience happiness. In the wisdom of Buddhism, there's a concept known as role attachment. It's when we become so entangled in the roles we play, whether as a mother, father, or spouse, that we lose sight of ourselves as individuals. We forget that we are more than just mom or dad. We are human beings with desires, dreams, passions, and the right to live our lives fully, and to find joy and meaning outside of our roles as caregivers. I think of the story of a woman, Natalia, who spent her life devoted to her son. By the time she was in her 60s, he was a 40-year-old man who still couldn't keep a stable job. He lived in her home, paid no rent, helped with nothing, and endlessly demanded money. "How can I kick him out?" she asked me, her voice tinged with sorrow. "He's my son." But one day, Natalia became gravely ill. She needed to travel to another city for medical treatment, but in her moment of greatest need, her son did nothing. He didn't offer help, didn't care for the house, and didn't even show concern. He continued living his life as if nothing had changed. And that, my dear ones, was the moment Natalia woke up to the painful truth. She had sacrificed her health, her well-being, and her life for his convenience. In that moment, she realized that by continuing to enable his dependence, she wasn't just destroying herself, she was also preventing him from standing on his own, from becoming the person he was meant to be. This is a wake-up call, my beloveds. You too deserve to live with purpose, joy, and peace. You deserve to reclaim your independence and stop sacrificing your happiness at the altar of others' expectations. It's time to set boundaries, to say no when you need to, and to live fully, with love and respect for yourself as much as for others. Let's dive into an incredibly sensitive yet profoundly important issue. Do you have adult children who have made it their habit to live off your hard-earned resources, subtly using you without you even noticing? Perhaps it's time to take a hard look at the situation and have an honest, eye-opening conversation with them. Setting clear boundaries is not just an option, it's a necessity. After all, at some point you have to ask yourself, how long will you allow them to drain you emotionally, physically, and financially, all the while neglecting your own needs? It's vital to recognize that you are not their eternal caretaker, and you deserve to live a life that nourishes your spirit, not one that's burdened by dependency. So the question becomes, when will you take control of your own life, set those boundaries, and reclaim your peace? Now, let's turn to a topic that might feel even more delicate yet undeniably significant: love and intimacy. Oh yes, I can already sense your anticipation, waiting for me to address this deeply personal and often controversial subject. Let me say this, loud and clear. Just because you've reached your 60s doesn't mean that intimacy and passion should fade into the background. Far from it. Intimacy can continue to burn brightly with just as much intensity, if not more, as we get older. But here's where the complexity comes in. Relationships, particularly romantic ones, take on a new form as we age. Living with lovers at this stage in life is not some carefree venture. It's a high-stakes gamble. The risks may be even greater than when we were younger. You see, with age comes wisdom, yet the passions we carry inside don't simply disappear. They may even grow stronger. The craving for affection, companionship, and yes, that irresistible spark of intimacy doesn't fade with time. In many ways, it can intensify. There's no shame in admitting that the fire in your soul still burns bright. Many of you, deep down, yearn for connection, for someone with whom you can share more than just mental warmth. You want something deeper, something hotter. But here's the dilemma. How do you discern whether reigniting that fire is worth the potential cost? Should that fire even be brought into your home? Let's unpack this together. When older individuals seek romance, who do they typically gravitate toward? Often, it's someone from the past, a familiar face, an old friend. But here's where things can get tricky. It's not uncommon to find yourself drawn to someone much younger, and this, my friends, is where the real complications start. As we age, we come to understand that relationships require patience, respect, and a delicate balance of freedom. But not all younger lovers comprehend this. It's here that I must share a poignant example, one that still resonates deeply with me. I have a dear friend, let's call her Galina, who became involved with a man 20 years her junior. He was handsome, full of life, and had an energy that was hard to resist. She felt drawn to him, as many of us do when faced with the energy and vitality of youth. The initial stages of their relationship were thrilling. She felt young again, invigorated, as if time had rewound itself. She embraced an active lifestyle, enjoying moments that once seemed impossible at her age. But, as often happens, the magic began to fade. The man's demands on her grew increasingly overwhelming. He needed more and more of her attention, her energy, and yes, her resources. What started as a passionate romance began to feel more like a parental role than a partnership. Over time, Galina found herself sinking into the role of caretaker, and not in a healthy, mutual way. She was expected to nurture him, to provide, to help him financially, and most devastatingly, to sacrifice her own needs for his. He was no longer the partner she had imagined, but another dependent in her life. As you might guess, the passion and joy they once shared gradually gave way to frustration, exhaustion, and feelings of resentment. What had once been a relationship full of excitement and hope had morphed into something draining and unfulfilling. Galina realized with painful clarity that living with a lover after 60 is not about simply reigniting a passion. It's about achieving a balance, mutual respect, and a sense of emotional freedom. And when that balance is missing, the relationship becomes a weight, not a gift. Her conclusion? Sometimes, the healthiest choice isn't to continue the relationship, but to separate and preserve your peace. Long-distance love, she learned, might just be the way to go. In this chapter of life, it's not about passion alone. It's about respect, understanding, and maintaining the dignity of your existence. And if these elements aren't present, then no matter how hot the fire may seem, it's better to let it burn from a distance rather than let it consume you. Let's not confine ourselves to just tales of youthful lovers. Age should not be the sole determinant of harmony in a relationship, especially when it comes to partnerships later in life. Even if your partner is of the same age, or even older, that doesn't guarantee a life of peace, joy, and fulfillment. All too often, older individuals find themselves in relationships driven by a deep, unsettling fear of loneliness. They cling to companionship out of a need to fill an emotional void, rather than out of a genuine, soulful desire to share their lives with another. But this fear is a dangerous foundation for any relationship, particularly one that forms later in life. Reflect on this for a moment. What is it that truly drives you to seek companionship? Is it because you yearn for a deep emotional connection, a partner to truly walk beside you through life's trials and triumphs? Or is it merely the overwhelming terror of being alone that prompts you to find someone to fill the space beside you? And if you are already in a relationship, take a hard, honest look. Do you feel the respect, the freedom to be yourself, to live a life that's truly yours? Or has your relationship become a weight, a heavy burden that suffocates rather than uplifts you? Now, let's turn the conversation towards a delicate, yet crucial topic. What does it mean to be a man after 60? What kind of person should you refuse to live with at this stage of life? I know, you may be thinking that as you grow older, you can settle for anyone who offers warmth and a bit of comfort, but let me tell you this. Not everyone who enters your life has something valuable to offer. And for those of you who are finding yourselves single after a long marriage, be careful, especially when it comes to women who might seem like a savior in your time of vulnerability. I'm talking about what I call caregiver women. These are the women who show up when you're at your lowest. Maybe you've just lost your beloved wife, gone through a painful divorce, or simply find yourself overwhelmed by loneliness. In those moments, a woman who appears ready to take care of you may seem like a godsend. After all, who wouldn't crave affection, care, and someone to lean on during such vulnerable times? If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment below to let me know that you are still here with me. But beware, the appearance of care can be a wolf in sheep's clothing. At first, everything may seem wonderful. She makes you breakfast, asks how you're feeling, offers to help with household chores, and makes you feel cared for in ways you haven't felt in a long time. But slowly, imperceptibly, something darker begins to unfold. Her care starts to morph into control. At first, it's subtle. She starts telling you who you can and can't socialize with. She questions why you still need to meet up with old friends, urging you to rest more, as if you're too fragile to keep up with your past life. At first, you might think she's right, that she's just looking out for you, but in reality, she's slowly turning your life into a rigid routine, and in doing so, she's making you more and more dependent on her. This is not love. This is manipulation. She claims it's about caring for you, but in truth, she's taking away your freedom, one tiny piece at a time. I once knew a man who, after becoming a widower, met a woman 30 years younger than him. In the beginning, he relished her attention. She seemed to care for him in ways that made him feel cherished and special. But after a year, he began to feel suffocated. Every move he made was dictated by her. He couldn't go on his weekly fishing trips with his friends, couldn't even choose what he wanted for dinner without her input, and even his beloved hobby of collecting rare coins was dismissed as a waste of time. Gradually, he became a prisoner in his own home, isolated from his desires and his own life. What's the lesson here? As a man, especially after 60, you must remain the sovereign of your existence. No one, not even someone who claims to love you, should ever take away your autonomy. If the woman beside you begins to strip you of your freedom, whether it's your freedom of thought, of action, or your passions, then that's a relationship you need to walk away from. Buddhism teaches us that true love is rooted in respect for the other person's freedom. It's about honoring one another's individuality, allowing space for both people to grow, to flourish, and to live authentically. So now, I ask you, is there a woman in your life who seems to care for you, but in reality, is slowly making you a prisoner of her expectations, her rules, her control? Are you prepared to live out the rest of your years under such constraints? Or is it time to take a bold, courageous step to reclaim your happiness, your freedom, and your sense of self? The time to make that decision is now. Your happiness, your peace, your soul's liberation are all in your hands. Let's delve into a difficult yet crucial aspect of life. The people who fail to recognize your boundaries and fail to value your time. We've all encountered them. The ones who believe that your days are theirs to commandeer, as if your time is endless, something they can tap into without a second thought. These individuals, often without shame, constantly find new reasons to ask for your help, as if your life is one long extension of their needs. You're not busy, you have a pension now, so why not help? It's familiar, isn't it? They'll say as if your entire existence is just a backdrop for their convenience. They don't see anything wrong with it because, to them, your time is an infinite resource that can be used at will. And even worse, they feel entitled to your assistance with no hesitation or consideration. But here's the hard truth. Life after 60 is a profound turning point. Your time becomes an invaluable treasure, a precious gift that is yours to protect. It is your most sacred resource. You've spent decades working, raising children, and sacrificing for your family. Now it's time to live for you. But how can you do that when you are continually weighed down by the endless demands of others, each request sapping your energy and focus? This is where the shift needs to happen. You must learn to stand firm in your right to privacy and peace. Buddhism teaches us that true peace and inner harmony can only be achieved when we clearly define where our boundaries lie. And those who refuse to respect them, no matter how familiar or close they may seem, should be kept at arm's length. You are not obligated to allow others to invade your space, your time, or your emotional well-being. Everyone, regardless of age, deserves the gift of rest, relaxation, and personal space. You do not have to be at everyone's beck and call. And here's the thing, when you fail to set these boundaries, you pay a price. After spending time with people who continually push your limits, you feel exhausted and drained to the core. It's as if your entire day was hijacked by someone else's needs, leaving you with nothing left for yourself. And the hardest part? It could have been different if you'd simply said no. I know how difficult it is, especially when it comes to loved ones who have always relied on you for help. The guilt can be overwhelming. But I want to ask you this. How often do you feel as though you're giving your time away to things that don't serve you, and that don't align with your desires or goals? You've earned the right to protect your time, to claim back your energy, and to prioritize your peace. So I ask you now, are you ready to start standing up for your right to rest, to joy, to freedom, even if that means disappointing others who've gotten used to you saying yes? Now, let's talk about another category of people who, if you're over 60, might be best kept at a distance. These are the ones who constantly remind you of your age, treating it like a death sentence, as if getting older means you must stop living. These pessimists are often the ones who, under the guise of caring, constantly remind you of your age with phrases like, "At your age, it's time to," or "Why would you want to do that? You're not young anymore." These people believe that your age is a limitation, a reason to stop pursuing your passions, your dreams, or even your basic joys. They mean well, but their words chip away at your confidence, making you feel like your best years are behind you. Let me make this clear. Age is not a limitation. If you're over 60, it doesn't mean you should stop doing the things you love or stop learning new things. The world is full of possibilities, and there's always room for growth, exploration, and adventure. Don't let these pessimists convince you otherwise. They will tell you that traveling is no longer for you, that new projects are out of the question, and that you should slow down and sit idly by. But I say no. You don't have to settle for their limited vision of what your life can be. You still have so much to offer, and you deserve to live a life that lights you up, that is rich with purpose and excitement. The best chapters of your life could be ahead of you. Don't let anyone steal that hope. Here's the crucial truth you need to understand. Their fears, doubts, and limitations are not yours to carry. They do not belong to you. I've had the privilege of meeting extraordinary individuals in their 70s and even their 80s, people who are still living their lives with vigor, passion, and a zest for new experiences. These individuals, who embrace every moment, are vibrant, full of life, and often feel much younger than those who continually wallow in complaints about aging. Because, let me tell you, it is not the number of years that define you, it's how you approach life. It's about your mindset, your attitude, and your willingness to embrace every new day as an opportunity. And here's the danger. If you start letting others insinuate that aging is a disease or a curse, you run the risk of internalizing their beliefs. Once you begin to believe that age is a prison, you start living in its shadow, and that's when you begin to fade. But when you choose to surround yourself with individuals who exude positivity and are determined to live fully and fearlessly, that energy becomes contagious. It's like a spark that lights the fire in your soul, awakening you to the incredible potential that still lies ahead. The world around you begins to shift. Suddenly, even after the age of 60, life is still brimming with possibilities. New adventures, new experiences, and new joys await. Now think deeply about this. How often have you encountered people in your life, be it family or friends, who are quick to tell you that you no longer need certain things that bring you joy, purpose, or a sense of accomplishment? They try to convince you that you are too old for this or that certain dreams are no longer worth pursuing. But here's the question. How willing are you to free yourself from these limiting voices? How ready are you to break free from the expectations and restrictions imposed by others and start living life on your terms? Not according to what they think is appropriate for your age, but in alignment with your deepest desires and passions. Let's continue our conversation by exploring another point. How many times have you heard the statement, "You're too old to start something new," or "At your age, you shouldn't be taking risks"? These words are not only spoken by strangers, but they often come from the people who are closest to you, your family and friends. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? But here's the truth you need to hold on to. Those who impose such limiting beliefs on you are robbing you of your power. They are projecting their fears onto you, trying to cage you in a world that they have already given up on. They may think they are looking out for you, protecting you from potential failure or disappointment, but in reality, they are suffocating your spirit, telling you that the best part of your life is behind you. But let me remind you of something incredibly powerful. Many of the greatest discoveries, boldest ventures, and most inspiring reinventions have been made by people well into their golden years. Age is not a barrier unless you allow it to be. There is no age limit to curiosity, creativity, or ambition. Age only becomes a barrier when you choose to stop believing in your ability to evolve and grow. Yet, unfortunately, there will always be those around you who do everything they can to convince you otherwise. They'll say things like, "Why do you want to learn something new? What's the point of a career at this stage? You don't need to work out anymore. Just relax." These words come from their fears, their own limiting beliefs, not from a place of concern for your well-being. In their misguided attempt to protect you, they are doing you a tremendous disservice, locking you into a box of mediocrity and missed potential. But listen to this. After the age of 60, a new chapter of your life can begin. One that is radiant, full of rich experiences and boundless opportunities. This phase of life can be vibrant, exciting, and full of purpose if you permit yourself to live it fully. There is a profound wisdom in letting go of attachments to the past and fears of the future, as Buddhism teaches us. The present moment, right now, is where the magic lies. And how can you truly live in the present if you are constantly haunted by thoughts of what you can't do because of your age? I have met countless individuals who, after retirement, have discovered untapped talents and passions they never knew existed within them. Some of them have picked up a paintbrush and created beautiful works of art, others have taken up a new sport, and still others have started businesses that are thriving. These people do not just inspire me, they inspire everyone around them. They prove, without a shadow of a doubt, that life after 60 is not a final chapter. It's a new, thrilling phase filled with endless possibilities. And here's something I want you to remember. Never let anyone, be it a friend, a family member, or a neighbor, tell you that your opportunities are limited by age. They are not. Your opportunities are only limited by what you choose to believe. And if someone doesn't believe in you, that's their problem, not yours. Stand firm in your belief that you are capable of greatness, no matter what stage of life you're in. Your future is in your hands. Claim it. Now, I ask you, who in your life is telling you that after 60, it's too late to start something new, to pursue those dreams you've tucked away for so long? And more importantly, are you ready to finally ignore those voices and follow your heart, even if it means going against the flow? Because, let me be clear, it's never, ever too late to begin living the life you truly deserve. Here's the hard-hitting truth. After 60, you owe absolutely no one anything. Yes, you heard that right. Not your friends, not your family, not even those closest to you whom you've relied on for support. It's time to accept this liberating reality. No one, no matter how much they love you, has the right to dictate how you live your life or impose their expectations on you. Now, let me ask you, why is it so deeply ingrained in our society that older people must sacrifice their desires, putting the needs of others ahead of their own? You spent decades raising your children, working tirelessly for your family, supporting everyone around you. But now, when it's your turn to finally live for yourself, those very same people may try to convince you that it's selfish. Why won't you help your grandchildren? Or how can you take a vacation when we're all struggling here? And here's the brutal truth. Too often, many see you as a resource, someone who has time on their hands, and so, it's presumed, your time should be spent on them. Here's where things get interesting. Once you set boundaries and say no, the pressure intensifies. How could you possibly put yourself first? What right do you have to live your life for you? But let's stop and think about this for a moment. Since when did your life stop being yours? Since when did you become obligated to shoulder everyone else's burdens at the expense of your happiness? Yes, you love your children, your grandchildren, and your friends. But that doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your precious time and energy for their comfort and convenience. Buddhism teaches us a profound lesson. You cannot truly help others if you are constantly draining yourself in the process. And how often have you found yourself sacrificing your well-being, surrendering to guilt and the pressure of duty, simply because it's expected of you? Let's go even further. Here's a shocking thought. If you don't start living for yourself now, when will you? After 60, life can be vibrant, fulfilling, and full of new adventures if only you permit yourself to embrace it. How many times in the past few years have you put your dreams on hold, thinking, "I'll do that later after I've taken care of everyone else"? How often have you convinced yourself, "I deserve a break, but not now, later"? The painful truth is that later may never come. If you don't start valuing your time, someone else certainly will, and you'll be left looking back with a heart full of regrets, wondering where your life went. Now, take a moment and ask yourself this. How many times in recent years have you truly lived for yourself, not just for others? How many moments have you sacrificed, thinking it was your duty, only to feel empty inside? And most importantly, are you finally ready to take that bold, life-changing step and start living for you? After all, if not now, then when? The reality is that after 60, we all stand at a crossroads. Continue adjusting to everyone else's needs and expectations, or take charge of our own lives, boldly and unapologetically. This choice might ruffle some feathers and upset others, but in the end, it will free you in ways you can't yet imagine. Here's a profound truth that you need to deeply absorb. No one is ever going to come to you and hand you a golden ticket, telling you that now, finally, it's your time to live entirely for yourself. Quite the opposite. The world will constantly whisper in your ear, convincing you that you must sacrifice and that your needs should be put aside for the sake of others. They will subtly suggest that at this stage in life, it's selfish to prioritize yourself, and that your desires should be drowned out by obligations and expectations. But here's the harsh, liberating reality. This is your time. This is your chance to live your years exactly how you choose, to embrace the life you've dreamed of. You've worked hard, you've sacrificed enough, and you've earned the right to live unapologetically for yourself. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. I've said it before, and I'll say it again because it bears repeating. Buddhists teach us that we are the sole architects of our happiness. No one else is going to take responsibility for your joy, your fulfillment, your life's purpose. And you know what? That's a beautiful thing. It means you have been gifted the power to choose. The choice is yours, and the weight of that choice is nothing short of empowering. Do you have a dream you've been postponing? Now is the moment to go after it. Do you want to travel the world, or experience something new that excites you? Then do it without hesitation. Want to dive into a new hobby, explore new passions, or rediscover a love you thought was lost? This is your permission slip. Go ahead, do it. Do you want to study, grow, or become someone new? Do it. Do you want to fall in love and embrace connection in its purest form? Go ahead, live, and love freely. The world is vast, limitless, and entirely open to you now, more than ever before. Anyone who tries to prevent you from chasing your dreams, anyone who can't see the possibilities in front of you, that's their issue, not yours. People will always project their fears, their limitations, and their insecurities onto you, expecting you to accept their narrow, fearful reality. But why on earth should you? Why should you conform to a life defined by their rules and their restrictions when you have already spent so much of your life accommodating the needs of others? Why not, for once, allow yourself the freedom to truly live? And here's the most empowering thought I want to leave you with. Age is not a barrier, it's the very opposite. It's not a time to slow down, to shrink, to settle into some kind of finality. No, age is the gateway to new beginnings. You've accumulated wisdom, experiences, and insights over the years that younger versions of yourself could never have imagined. These are not burdens. They are treasures. They are the keys to unlocking new doors, new dreams, and new horizons. This isn't the time to mold yourself into the expectations of others or to conform to a world that insists you slow down or retreat. This is the moment to run forward, to chase your heart's deepest desires, to pursue the passions you once placed on the back burner. Your life is yours, and it's just getting started. So take hold of it. Step into your freedom. This is your time to create the life you deserve. As we wrap up, take a moment to reflect on what you've learned today. What resonated with you the most? What will you carry forward into your own life and start practicing from this very moment? I invite you to share one thing you've learned in the comments below. Something that you plan to put into action and make a real difference in your life. If you like this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have so much more to share with you, and I wouldn't want you to miss out on anything that could empower and inspire you on your journey. Thank you for being part of this incredible community, and remember, this is your time. Live it to the fullest.